Hello my fellow creators and welcome to my YouTube channel. It is the second of the month, which typically means that it's time for Sheetload collaborators to share our version of the month's Sheetload of card sketch. However, this month is a little bit different. Our dear friend Alicia of the Call Me Crafty Al channel had to take some time off for some personal reasons. So I thought, why don't I go back and look at one of the previous sheet loads and I'll make cards using that sheet load. So I'm going to bring in the sheet load of card sketch from June of 2019. Now, in case you're not familiar with a sheet load of cards, typically Alicia of the Call Me Crafty Al channel shares a new sheet load on the first of each month. And then on the second, she shares her full process video using the Sheetload sketch, including any tips and tricks that she may have. The collaboration team also shares our version of how we use the sketch on the second of the month. If you print the Sheetload at 100%, the image included on the Sheetload is an actual size of an A2 size card, which helps when you're designing your card so you have a better visual of what it may look like. Now the sketch also shares what supplies are needed, how many cards it yields, and for the June 2019 sheet load it yields 12 cards, the dimensions in case you want to make a single card versus the whole batch of cards, and alternatives or other ways to use the sketch. For example, flip it on its side for a landscape card. Now on page 2 is the cutting guide, and this is where you will find your guide on how to cut your different pattern papers. Now in this sketch, it calls for 4 sheets of 12 by 12 patterned paper, 3 of one design and 1 of another. I am going to change it up a bit and I'll show you how in just a minute. You'll also need 3 sheets of CS1, which is cardstock 1, and then 1 sheet of cardstock 2. Now these are cardstocks. You can choose whatever color you'd like to use or any kind of maybe embossed cardstock. And then you're going to need your 12 A2 card bases. Now, keeping Alicia in my heart and my thoughts and my prayers, I thought I would use this lovely paper, the Plush Peonies by Recollections. And I've already chosen the papers I'm going to use from there. So let me share those with you. This will be my 1 pattern paper that I'm going to be cutting the 12 3x4 pieces out of. And then these are the 2 other pattern papers, and I'm only using 2 instead of 3. I'm going to adjust the size of this piece. The sketch originally calls for these to be cut into 4 pieces at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. But in order to make my paper stretch, I am going to cut these at 4 by 5 1/4, and that'll give me a little matte layer on my card base. I did go ahead and choose for my cardstock sheets this shimmering gold cardstock I had in my stash, and this I got at Michael's, as well as this pink cardstock also from my stash and also from Michael's. So I'm going to bring in my Tim Holtz Tonic Studios rotary trimmer, and I am just loving the way this trimmer cuts. So let's get started. We'll first start by cutting our 2 pattern pieces that are going to be our back layer. And as I mentioned, these I'm cutting at 4 by 5 1/4. So let me cut down this piece to 10 1/2, and then I'll cut it down to the 5 1/4. And then these strips I can use for the inside of the card. And then I'll cut this to 5 1/4. And we'll cut these at 4. So since this is a 12 by 12, this is 12 in length, I'll just bring it back to 8, and that'll give me one piece right here at 4. And then I'll bring it down to 4. That'll give me 2 more pieces at 4 inches. Now before I cut my CS1B pieces, as I mentioned earlier, printing this at 100% shows you a full A2 size card. So I am going to bring in this Sympathy Greetings Mix stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. But an easy way to see what sentiment I would like on here, because I can see if it fits on this strip. And you can always adjust the size of your pieces here. So if I wanted to use, for example, this larger sentiment here, I would simply adjust this to be the size that would fit the sentiment. But I think I want to go with these real simple ones. The one that says with caring thoughts, and then with sympathy and love. So I'm going to do 2 different sentiments. And since I am doing it on our gold, I think I'm going to heat emboss this with some white embossing powder. So now that I know that this size will work perfectly with the sentiments, I can go ahead and cut it according to the cutting guide, which is to cut 12 pieces at 3 inches by ½ inch. Todo me lo sabía decir. El dolor me ahoga, me agarré tan fuerte de ti. No quería soltarte, no podía dejarte ir, el miedo a perderte no me dejaba respirar, no podía. And then let me get my pattern papers and mats ready to go. And really these are real easy to sort through because I did only use 2 different pattern papers for my base layer. So all I'm going to do is set them up in stacks. So it's going to be this layer, the mat, and then our other layer, and one of each of the flags. Todo me lo sabía decir. Cerca, siempre cerca. Cerca, siempre cerca de mí. So I have my card bases already. We'll just build our cards. And another way you could change up these cards is to add some dimension. Maybe use some foam tape to add your sentiment. Alrighty, my crafty friends, I have completed my 12 cards using the June 2019 Sheetload of Cards sketch. Now I did change it up just a bit in that I cut the back layer down to 4 by 5 1/4 instead of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That gave me this nice white border around that paper. And then I did make the gold mat go fully around this pattern paper in the card sketch. As you can see here, it goes only around 3 sides. So this is up at the top edge, and then that's at the top edge of the pattern paper. But given that I had put a border here, I thought I would leave that as kind of a theme and put a border around this and around the mat layer so that it looked a little more uniform. Make sure you check out Alicia's channel over at Call Me Crafty Al and take a look at all her wonderful sketches. Now she does have a Patreon account so that you can get some additional perks. So go to her channel and check out that information. And Alicia, my heart and hugs and love are with you and your family at this difficult time. Please take as much time as you need to heal and to bond with your family. Thanks everyone for sticking around to the end. I'd be thrilled if you subscribed to my YouTube channel or followed me on any of my other social media platforms. As always, have a beautiful, safe, and creative day. Thanks for watching. Bye.